I was hoping to catch that Van Halen story by the record button, but I didn't get there. It's all right.
That's all right. We ain't talking about love.
On that note, see if I.
We told you that before, Mental. Come on.
There we go. Somebody besides somebody in the car got that joke.
Good. Can I finish what I started?
Can you please start the music?
So I'm trying to. It's not going. Why is it going?
That's a really loaded question asking us.
Welcome to Everyone Racers, a show designed for the world of low-dollar racing and oddball car culture. It doesn't matter what kind of Lemma-Champ or Lucky Track Dog you run, SCCA or NASA, we won't discriminate, as long as you drive it hard and built it yourself. Join us each week for tech discussion, tips, tricks, news and notes in the world of amateur endurance racing, and whether it's on the spot, hella sweet, or we're lucky enough and Chrissy gives us just a tip, we're sure you'll giggle a little and learn even less. Everyone report to the paddock.
This is Chris.
This is Chrissy.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Mental.
And we are Everyone Racers. Thank you for coming back to a What the Heck 2020 You Had to Take Eddie Van Halen episode of our podcast. I am not particularly upset. This is very accurate. Mental wrote this, and he is old, and he is bummed, and probably is Jeff as well. But as a resident of this timeline, I am tired of good people dying. So put a little eruption from Van Halen's 1978 self-titled debut album and dance around in your best zebra striped spandex. Rest in peace, Eddie. This is episode number 159. So if you are not driving, get out your bingo card because you never know if you might win. Let's kick it off. What you working on, Jeff?
Other than see if I have eruption on my phone, I do. Wow,
it's also linked. It's also linked in our show notes, and they probably will flag us, at least on the Facebook version.
Well, I'm not going to play it then. So sorry, I'm playing it as a joke. I tried to play it on purpose. So I cleaned and organized the garage because last weekend I viciously threw every single LS swap part into my trailer in a tremendously hasty method and left my garage looking like a giant shook it. So
you rat effed your garage.
I did. I rat effed my own garage. So anyway,
F's in chat for Jeff's garage.
Yes. I also had.
You could say that day 2 after Jeff moved in. For Jeff's garage.
It's organized pretty well. I mean, it's organized, but it's full.
While.
So it is still organized, but the next travesty is the fact that I organized it so I could fix the wife's daily driver. Thanks to the Coronacation, I bought parts for it in January. And
we thought about replacing them then and said, no, they're fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with it.
We bought some axles for my wife's 2015 Subaru. And then I took it to Chris and Chrissy's to change said axles. And we said, wow, those lower control arm bushings are terrible. We should change those at the same time. So I ordered the lower controlling arm bushings, and then it was cold. And then Coronacation happened, and my wife stopped driving multiple hours to work every day. And last week she said, hey, I got to start going to work again. You going to fix my car? So I took it apart over the weekend.
Always the way.
And the axles came out without too much difficulty, and the lower control arms were coming apart without too much difficulty. And I pulled the axle out and I held it next to the axles that I bought in January, and they were not the same axles.
That's sad.
So I said, well, while I'm here, I might as well fix the lower control arms. So they have ball joints pre-pressed. So I was splitting the, what is that, like the hub up assembly?
Knuckle.
Yeah, the knuckle. So I was splitting the knuckle, and it cracked.
The knuckle cracked?
Yes, like right at the part where it's just supposed to split it.
What the F, Subaru? Come on.
Yeah. I did nothing wrong. I would freely admit if I totally got ham-fisted or something, but it didn't. So now I have to get the right axles, get knuckles.
And a new steering knuckle.
And yeah. And by the way, I found on Rock Auto, because that's where I buy all of my parts, if I'd have just gone down a little further, I would have seen the axles that say CVT transmission.
And we looked at the time they had a very limited supply of axles.
They did.
I don't remember what.
And
I think they might have gotten better since then.
They had like VIN, like if you're from this VIN to that VIN, order this one and this VIN to that. So we're in the right VIN range for these axles. But like I said, in January, I did not see this in the listing. CVT transmission, buy these axles. So I will call Rock Auto and try and get them to refund me. But it says right on my invoice, this refund is good. These parts can be refunded until January 20th, 2020.
Oh.
eBay. I bought these and don't need them.
Yep.
Thank you very much. That works.
Yeah. I also fixed my daily
Pretty
driver.
much.
So Jen drove the mighty Mazda 3 to Reading and back today. It only took 2 shots.
She needs something to drive now.
Yeah. It only took 2 shots because it turns out there are 2 exhaust gaskets that make my exhaust not leak in the same joint.
So your exhaust doesn't leak now?
My exhaust
so
doesn't
great.
leak now. It's very good. It's exciting.
Fantastic. So now the only thing broken is your air conditioning, which now that's future Jeff's problem. It's October. Okay.
Sadly, it is Jeff's current problem because the wife, who is extremely unhappy about me breaking her daily driver, which totally worked before I took the wrenches to it, lest I suggest, says, and how am I supposed to, it's so hot in here. What am I supposed to do? Open the windows? Yes. Well, this is terrible.
Take the target off.
No, she's in the 3. She won't take the. She will not take the Corvette.
It's so hot in the. Okay, yeah.
The
reason she doesn't want to open the windows in your car is because then the trash all starts flying around.
I took all the trash out. I cleaned the car for her. I get no props for cleaning the car. All I get is this air conditioning not working is a problem. I totally deserve it. Anytime that you have an entire day and you take the wrenches to a fully functioning car and you end the day without a fully functioning car and multiple weeks until you can get that car to fully function because Rock Auto does not have said CVT axles. They're listed, but they're sold out.
Is it already snowing there or she just doesn't want to drive the Vet?
She doesn't want to take it down 422 of hell.
Fact. Okay. No. Yeah. Okay. No. That tracks.
So anyway, that's utter failure, and the disdain that is piled upon me is completely worth it.
Then you got to go buy a used knuckle or
they're
car
like
dash.
$60 on Rock Auto. So
oh, all right.
But then I'll have to press the bearing. Maybe I will go get a used one. I don't know.
The used one's going to have a bad bearing because you're Jeff.
True.
Well, you buy a low mileage one from a southern state, so it's not rusty.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And then the bearing is okay. That's why you do search nationally, price low, find one in like Texas.
Yeah,
done.
And have them send it. Yes.
Yeah.
Chris, you're full of wise advice. Why don't you tell us what you're
after the
on?
fact? I'm really good at after the fact wise advice.
I know mental was supposed to go next, but it's a great transition. Why don't you tell me what you're working on?
I've been making the Z oil pan work after we cut it up and re-welded it back together. Now I had to do all the other stuff like make the baffles fit, make sure that the everything works with the oil pickup tube, which then proceeded 45 minutes of digging through the Z, unsuccessfully not finding the pickup
45
tube.
minutes? No. It was a lot longer than absolutely. It was a lot longer than that. It was a good couple hours. It was off and on, slamming doors. Go check downstairs. It's not downstairs. Go text them again. Why there? No, it's not the dipstick. It's the. That's what we did all night.
And don't forget the 87 text messages to Jeff and Jim saying, "Well, where did you put it?"
Right.
I put it in a box. What box?
It's not in a box.
Which box? I think it was this box. I don't know, but I didn't know it was a box.
Where did you find it?
Hold on.
I didn't find it. Y'all found it, not me.
Not you or Jim, who are both highly educated, very intelligent people.
Yeah, with the memory of a goldfish.
Replied. I'm not talking about the memory. I'll let the memory go. But to a question of where is it, your answer was in a cardboard box.
Yep. And they were right. It just wasn't any of the cardboard boxes that it should have been in. You know, this car is full of boxes and tubs, and I took everything apart, everything out. And it ended up being.
Mental's having a conniption.
my governmentness is just absolutely tweaking, God, then why would you even type that? That is like, I don't know. That's a much better answer.
No.
In a cardboard box.
I said, I believe it is in this box or this box wrapped in white paper.
There we go.
Yep.
All right. So
I was not
specific.
correct. It was not in either of those boxes, and it was not wrapped in white paper.
It was eventually found in the box that the brand new water pump came in, the Gates water pump box that had the water pump in it, but it was under the water pump in the Gates water pump box. So when I opened the box and see, there's a water pump. Yep, close that again.
This is why we did this in the morning.
Now I understand why it was lost somewhere. Because I was like, well, if it was in the water pump box, why didn't we find it?
Because I opened the water pump box. There's a water pump.
That's why this morning I was like, or last night I said, you have to wait till tomorrow. We're going to, like, he has his little lamp out. And I was like, we're missing it. Like, it's not there. It's there. It's there. We just have to look in the morning.
I should mention, this is a 20-inch, very shiny piece of metal tubing.
He's like, maybe we threw it away. And I was like,
shiny piece of metal tubing.
But it was
like
like
a water pump is like a big clunky thing.
It's a big thing.
Yeah.
We are actually having a show about how to organize your garage for a work weekend. We just keep kicking that topic down the road, but it's out there.
So anyway, now that I found the oil pickup tube, proceeded to test fit it against the baffles and cut and trim and repeat. And I even installed the tube on the motor briefly and then Play-Doh'd it. We put Play-Doh on the edges and then test fit the pan and then trimmed a little more and then redid the Play-Doh and test fit it again and trimmed a little more. And got it all in good shape.
Were you trimming the baffles or the pan or the pickup? What were you trimming?
The baffles, I had to trim a little, not the door part of the baffles, the upper parts, because I had to cut them to fit because there wasn't enough room to bend them in. So I had to take them all the way out and get them to fit. And that took a long time too, cutting them out. With the other one, like I'd cut half the welds off. With the other ones, there was just no room to get in there. So I had to use a hacksaw blade with the end cut off of it that I managed to fit in the Sawzall. And then I had to very slowly use the Sawzall to cut it that way. It worked. It got through it, but it took me a long time and it was tedious. Anyway, the baffles are in. Everything's in. It's great. It looks wonderful. It held water with zero seepage for 45 minutes. All is well. It even has a coat of paint on it now. It is going to be ready to install tomorrow.
Nice.
Yeah. Also spent a lot of time grinding out a broken bolt. One of the bolts in the head that always breaks off on these LS motors broke off, and then it broke off again when we started to take it off deeper into the head. Then when drilling it out, the drill bit broke off deep in there. Then when trying to weld in there, it didn't work. So now I've been grinding away at the bolt and drill bit with a carbide grinder in the Dremel.
Oh.
It's a lot of fun.
Oh.
Yeah. So I'm working through that one.
$150 LS motor, and from what I hear, they all break these exhaust
I'm sure if I did it on my truck, it would break right off too.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm still working on that, but the pan is done, and then we went to VIR too. So anyway,
we'll get to that
in a minute.
Yeah, Mental, what are you doing?
So, in most important news, at least centered around my house, Vicky is home.
Yay!
She's been gone for like months. Yeah. All right, so Vicky's home. So in preparation for that, I had to do some work on her car that she asked me to do 3 months ago when she left.
I'm not the only one.
Hold on a second. Hey, babe, you drove your truck today, right?
Oh, okay. Kick a man while he's down. Why don't you? Jesus.
It's a joke. So anyway, she'd had a slow leak in one of her front tires, and they were getting a little low on the wear bar. So I went ahead, I took those up and had those replaced because it was a previous patch right on the edge of where you can patch the tires, right almost on the shoulder. It was leaking. So we just went ahead and replaced those front tires and then got the oil change. But in order to facilitate all of this, I had to get the Mercedes that I mentioned 3 weeks ago. I had worn the brakes down. With Vicky gone, I just drove her truck. So I hadn't done the brakes on it. And I got the brake pad swapped out and also the upper ball joint, the A-arm ball joints, which were surprisingly painful to get out. Took me 2 days and I had to go buy a special tool because they were not coming out via metal or rubber persuasion. And I had to go buy a leverage tool that you screw it in and they eventually just pop out. And when they do, it's very sudden, very violent, and very unsettling. So I replaced those, and it underscores the insidious nature of suspension problems because the front end wasn't. Go ahead, Chris.
Say that tool that it's like a pickle fork with a thumb on it, right?
Exactly.
That's what you're talking about? Yeah.
Yeah. And you just
think it's great.
Yes. So I used it on 3 different locations, taking my wife's car apart. It is the greatest Harbor Freight tool on the planet.
Yeah.
I got mine at AutoZone, but they all came from the same place.
It goes like this.
Mine
Mine
pretty much lives in the race toolbox because it's the way to pop like
Chrissy enjoys that. It's making her laugh. Hold on a second.
Yeah, and it was
it works great. It does. It always you put a lot of pressure on it though, and you're like, man, I'm putting a lot of pressure on this thing, and all of a sudden, bam!
Yeah, and it like
and every time I go,
and I'm like, because the A arm's already at a weird angle. I'm like, don't scratch the paint. But I got that done, and they weren't bad, but I looked at them and they were kind of rusty inside. I mean, granted, they've got 150,000 miles on them, and the front suspension was not bad, but I immediately noticed just a tighter feel. So suspension just wears so gently, we get used to it and we don't recognize it when it's bad. It's just one of those things. So check your book.
I did the lower ones and the compensator arms at about 110,000, I think, FYI.
Okay.
So you're probably good on those for a long time.
Excellent. I mentioned when I was using the clip-in pedals on the bicycle that I'm commuting on, how I fell off day one. What I didn't realize, I broke my phone. The microphone stopped working and the volume button was jammed on down all the time. So Vicky got home and finally let me go get a new phone. So now I have a new, and I just said the heck with it. Instead of buying used stuff, I bought the newest iPhone 11 Max, and I've got my new AMG Red Pig case coming from Redbubble on that one. And I leave tomorrow for Gingerman.
Cool.
Chrissy, you've been patient.
Sure. Last week I packed for VR. Then I hurry up and waited at VIR. And then we had a long tow home. And then I was tired. And there's lots of work. That's what I'm doing.
Long tow home? How long was it?
7
3?
hours.
7? Is it really 7?
It's on the North Carolina border.
It's North Carolina.
Ooh.
And it's it's all through Virginia. So you're going 75 too.
Yes. Yes. No matter what.
Yes.
You got a lot of work done in the car on the way down, though. So that was good.
I did. Well, I had to work all day Friday because I'm in a program that didn't allow me to take off. So I worked, had Zoom meetings, sitting in the car.
That's cool.
Okay.
All right.
News and notes.
News and notes. Right to you, Chrissy. Keep going.
Okay, we'll be talking about this next week as well, but GRM, Grassroots Motorsports, is again sponsoring their Wear Your Helmet to Work Day. It's a way to tell the rest of the world that you love car racing. So it's a simple process. Wear your helmet, take a picture, go to Instagram. It is on Friday, October 16th. With the hashtag Wear Your Helmet to Work, all one word, no spaces. And then make sure you tag GRM as well. And if you're hearing it here, tag us as well. That'd be fun too. Person behind the GRM's favorite photo wins a new Stilo helmet.
And 3 people who won't be able to do that?
All of us, because we're going to be on the way to the track.
I mean,
but we do this every year. We take
a picture ahead of time. And
although it's really boring that like the picture is literally going to look like what Chris is looking right now.
Yeah. You know what? I
with
think
a helmet
Zoom meeting with like all 4 of us in our helmet would be hilarious.
That actually is a good idea.
Yeah.
Yep.
I totally think we need to do that next week for the show, or maybe
you just gave it away. Now we're not as cool because somebody else is going to do it.
No, they won't.
No, they won't.
Okay.
Who else got a story?
Auto Week has published the NASCAR 2021 schedule. We mentioned this before because they're talking about going to Circuit of the Americas, and we've got a link in our notes. It is going to be really, really different. So some of the highlights are they are doubling the number of road course races at the Cup. Darlington and Nashville are now going to be using the low downforce package. So
No idea
expect a
what
lot
that
of spinny, crashy races. And Bristol Motor Speedway in Tennessee is going to be covered in clay. So they are going back to dirt. For the first time, they are racing on dirt in NASCAR since 1970, which is interesting, but not everybody's a huge fan. The king himself, Richard Petty, who won that race in 1970, said, and I quote, "I have to be careful here because there's some politics involved and I don't want to annihilate NASCAR on this. I am looking at it from an old time deal because we spent years and years and years trying to become a professional sport. But dirt track racing is not professional. It is extremely fun. Go to your local dirt track and watch a race. They're awesome."
That's a
So we are
parenthetical.
going
That
backwards.
wasn't Richard Petty who said that.
No,
I'm
I
sorry,
was
keep
saying
going.
go
I'm just
watch it
joking
now.
on the fact that
Awesome.
you.
And so he also said, "I think it's going to be exciting at Bristol that day, but it might be another gimmick, but it might be the gimmick NASCAR needs." There is a link in our show notes to both Richard Petty's comments and to the schedule.
Remember,
Cool.
Jeff, you can't interrupt Mental because
I
he is
know.
2 seconds behind in the interwebs. So it's
And then it makes it
everything
5
up.
seconds, and we have all this awkward silence when we
I know.
wait for
I
him to
realized that
catch
when
up.
I interrupted him. I'm sorry, but I liked when he goes really fast when the internet
That's
catches
true.
up.
It's always fun.
Speaking of going really fast, Sim Racing 24/7, which is some sort of internet publication about sim racing, has some pretty hardcore evidence that says that iRacing might be cheating for some of the people. Just released the story with a Twitch stream and a whole bunch of data, and it seems that the son of someone who has I don't want to call him out because I don't know if this is true, the son of a bigwig inside of iRacing seems to be a lot faster than he should be. They suggest that there's some sort of grip mod giving him an edge as other more experienced drivers in the same race, in the same speeds, in the same same corners are not holding the line. It's interesting. They have a decent amount of data in it. And it just happens to be a brand new racer who's the son of the director of blah, blah, blah in iRacing, who seems to be beating the physics engine.
You would think he would like register under a different name, like Todd Smith or something.
Well,
If
there was some
dad
internet
runs
sleuthing.
iRacing.
There was some internet sleuthing to figure out that this guy was related to someone inside iRacing. So, but I don't want to call him out because I don't know if it's true.
Meanwhile, poor Bob, after every lemons race, gets chewed up about the physics engines.
I just want to know who is Santiago related to. Questions?
It's an easy cheat code. Come on, it's up down, left right, A B A B start. Like more grip.
Yeah.
All right. So a lot of the big volume manufacturers, auto manufacturers, are focusing on electrification for the future. And Honda announced they're putting all their engineers into that bucket, starting with their departure from Formula One next year. So according to The Drive, Honda is studying enormous costs and a need to direct its investments towards electrification of fuel cells. And so they need those engineers back. As an engine manufacturer, they won 6 constructors championships and 5 drivers' trophies of the year. Red Bull stopped buying from Renault with no love lost after 12 years, signed a 2-year deal for Honda with 19 and 20, and that's been going pretty well, actually. Honda's going to go one more year before closing the whole thing down. They've got 2 victories, and things are going pretty well, really, for Honda and Red Bull. So maybe they can sell it to somebody, like maybe Red Bull wants to start doing their own engines, just buys Honda out of the thing. Who knows?
I don't know.
But
I don't think that's in the Red Bull milieu of engineering.
Well, who knows? They'd end up back at Renault because that's all that's left, because Mercedes sells to too many people and no one wants a Ferrari. So back to Renault. That'll be fun.
Renault wasn't good, and they kind of burned their bridge by
Yes.
when they broke up with them. So all is not well.
And no one else is making F1 motors like Cosworth or anybody like that. So,
No.
oh well.
Chrissy, 2.5 episodes in, I'm catching up to Formula
It's
One.
good. It's good. By the time you might they might crash. You might be able to get through 2 seasons and then catch up to what's going on.
It's
currently.
Upcoming races. Vettel already said he's going to Gingerman. Well, he's going there to be part of the Lemons race. So thanks to our usual hosts, number 5, Eric Rude. The entry list has 89 cars, 9 BMWs,
Boring.
2 Miatas, 15 Hondas, no Porsches. No P cars at all, but there is a host of other fun things, and talk about that later.
Car number 137 is the 1988 Hell Kitty Prelude SI, is Tony Swan's old car. This is the Tony Swan Never Say Die Memorial Race in memory of him. And his family and friends are bringing it out, which mad props. Also, this is a great place to mention that Godspeed to, and I quote everybody on this one, the real John Lamb, not a J Lamb category, but he was a famed and esteemed motorsport journalist. Everybody had a lot of great things to say because, again, 2020 just decided we don't need great people and keeps taking a bunch of them. So Godspeed, John Lamb.
It is also not Jay Lamb's father, which everyone started saying, Jay, I'm sorry your dad died. He's like, no, my dad's name's not John. I'm not Junior.
Yeah.
All right. So some of Eric's picks are the set number 789, the other Race Lemons Rolls Royce.
Go for it.
They've had some struggles in the past.
Crazy
and
son of a bitch.
it's quite a built car. Number 666 is listed as the Pontiac Camaro, sort of. Eric tells us that we want to see this car up and close, especially in the engine bay. Eric knows the surprise, not going to ruin it for everyone. Expect Mental, who's driving there, to talk about that one on social media.
59 is the Amazeball Saturn Ute that we saw at the last race in Gingerman. And there's the 626 Epic Malaise era Mazda 626, which is a couple shades of brown, as it should be.
Nice.
73 is a Mercedes compressor hatchback with a Pinto engine. Eric told us, no, really, they work in a junkyard. And we're just like, well, this one also says 2.3 liters, probably good enough. And then they got in the joke after like their third race. But they were the most unintentionally awesome team in Lemon's history when they showed up. Well done.
That's fantastic. There's a GTV6 Alpha done up like a 1990s Alpha 155 DTM car. So their car number, of course, is 155. Eric calls it so effing good. He didn't say effing. I fixed that. There's a Mustang Cobra nose and some aluminum shelving all cut up to make it look the part. So that's good. I love changing the body shape of your car. That's awesome. 403 are some iRacing regulars. Alan Evans, Chris Chesick, the Shih Tzu guy, among others. What? Yeah, the Shih Tzu is Buster, yes. Among others. First race in their Jetta TDI, which I hope is pink and black. They ran their very first.
It'll get hit. It'll get hit so much if it's pink and black.
They ran their very first Lemons rally as well in the same car. It has like 450,000 miles on it, which is pretty new for a Jetta TDI, right? That's like where you start.
Reasonable.
They start to get broken in right about there. The window hasn't gone up or down in 300,000 miles.
And the check engine light has been on for about 300 of those.
399, I think.
Yeah, I was being conservative, but okay, let's go with that. Okay, let's talk recent results. We were wondering how the dog race went. So we had 45 cars, but that's what I was wondering. How many cars there were?
Style?
Dog style Okanogan Classic at the Area 27 Motorsport
Canada joke.
Oh. Motorsports Park in Oliver, British Columbia. The first was a Spec Pinata number one lap ahead of Team Slovo and 2 laps up on Catalyst Drives. Sunday was a little tighter with the top 3 on the same lap. That's always exciting. Catalyst Drives was a minute and a half ahead of Hour and 1:59 over the third place. Spec Pinata.
Cool. Champ Car was downing some Iron City beer in the Money Shift Racing Pittsburgh Grand Prix. Saturday, MK Motorsports in their Mustang with the win and the fastest time of the day. They were 1 lap over the Miata of Whiskey Tango Foxtrot and 3 laps over rbankracing.com Saab 9-3. Sunday saw Team Saline Mustard Boxer. Those guys are hot dog good. A mere 2.5 seconds over the Whiskey Tango Foxtrot Miata. Both of them 1 lap over third place, the Ketchup Boxster of Team Saline. So go you glizzy gobblers. You're all looking at me because you don't know what a glizzy is. A glizzy is a hot dog, everybody. Keep going.
I guessed it was some sort of Pittsburgh reference.
Sounds gross.
Yins.
It doesn't have anything to do with Pittsburgh. It just has to do with hot dogs.
All right.
Go to Yakos.
Listener feedback. Craigers
Shoved.
took the time to email us with a link to a Tulsa, Oklahoma newspaper article, adding, "This feels like relevant race news." The article states that 2 former detention officers and their supervisor in Oklahoma City are charged Monday after an investigation found that inmates in the Oklahoma County Jail were forced to listen to Baby Shark on a loop for extended periods of time.
At loud
It has been ruled cruel and unusual. Link is in our show notes.
Didn't they do that to like the Taliban too? So.
I don't think it was Baby Shark because Baby Shark wasn't out then.
No, I think it was Barney, actually. Last week's episode generated a lot of discussion on iRacing. Our probably youngest listener, Josh K, mentioned there's also Forza Motorsports for those without iRacing setups. Yep, and also a set of Corsa and project cars and all kinds of things. So, and
what's
Josh,
the crashy one?
They're all crashy.
No, there's one that's like specifically, it's like Demolition Derby.
Grand Theft Auto.
No. Never mind. Keep going. We don't know the name of it.
It doesn't matter. So, Josh, your dad, he should have told you by now, building Lemon's car is very, very hard.
And frustrating.
And stupid.
And it's going to cause you endless financial and personal hardship.
Yeah, just don't start. Yep.
But it's fun. Our YouTube is blowing up. James Wallern agreed with me, adding, "I enjoyed iRacing. However, it's hard for me to translate to Meat Space. I think it'd be useful if I had one of the cars in the sim." I totally agree. The rookie
We
Solstice
had one.
Well, sure. I didn't actually drive the Solstice, so I drove it 2 laps around the track, and I was like, I can't see a thing. I'm going to kill someone. The rookie Solstice is about as slow as my Volvo, but not quite. I'll reactivate if I'm going to a new track.
Cool. Tyler Stank agreed with our Oculus Guardian boundary problems. He said it's important to keep in mind that iRacing and real racing require totally different skill sets. The other day, I happened to be in a race with Dario Franchitti, and I was keeping up. It definitely wasn't because I'm that good of a driver, but evidently I'm that good of an driver. Yes,
so
Tyler.
The other night, Santiago said he has like a hotkey or something in iRacing to reset the center on the Oculus. I don't know what it is, but there is some way that can be done. Just don't ask me how.
He's also found a way to hotkey. No, that's Schlavine who can hotkey the clearing the black flags when we try to black flag. Finally, our suspected North Korean bot, AJH7722, commented on the whole episode last week. You think we're having internet problems now? Last week was awful. Said, terrible internet connections, the story of my COVID work from home era.
Perfect timing.
Let me guess, it went bad as I was talking.
Exactly.
Terrible internet connection. So now a story of our...
Didn't do that on purpose, folks. Couldn't do it if I tried.
You couldn't have faked it. It was too good.
Hey, we've gotten lots of likes and compliments from our work weekend, VIR, and Buttonwillow updates on our social media, but sorry for parties, Jackie had the best comment. She posted a picture of her glass of wine in front of the TV screen that showed a 4.8 stuffed Z and stated, "Watching on YouTube lets me see this," where you can see that half the motor is sticking above the hood, including the entire throttle body. Yeah, it's a shame.
Yeah. Racer Rona reaction. Let's talk about we've only been doing iRacing stories in this. Originally, we talked about like what people were doing since they weren't racing. So if you have any Racer Rona reaction, like you built something weird or you did something cool, send it to us. But since we don't have any of that, back to iRacing at our place.
So with most of the crew coming back from VIR, I was the holdout. So I was there with Ryan and Eric, and Meatwad showed up, Sean Yoder. So we had a great time. And actually, Sean showed on camera his Jeff Gordon's Fisherman's Fish Sticks that he had for dinner while he was eating there. So
nice.
They were doing the Silly Hats race, and this was a good one. And they had the live feed on Twitch that we put on the camera. So you had one person blindfolded in Milwaukee, and he was being coached by the other guy in Chicago. And we actually could tune into the audio, and some of my favorite inputs were no straighter than that. And of course,
it's a round steering wheel. There's no way to tell which way is up.
And some of the best part is the Hesser brothers were out there doing their flight controls, and I want to say it was Kevin. Just anytime he saw that Miata, would course correct, mash the throttle, and hammer him. Just would absolutely totally Randy Bisham from behind. It was awful and hilarious. Lady A had a great quote about VIR for the Lemons Racing, and it was the thrill of the thrill of the Jetta and the agony of the Yeet. That was a good one. Race 2 got won by Sitco, and then Jared Duclos got the next one. So that's what we did on that one. Sunday nights, some of us are usually paying attention or commenting on that, and even if we're not, it's totally worth following.
And then Monday, we had our E1R race. And in prep for next Sunday's Lemons race, we went to Monza and running first the Grand Prix track. And then we did the combined track with chicanes over 6 miles long. And let me tell you, if you've never experienced what the oval at Monza is like, holy crap. Like, you just give it a try. It is unbelievable. It's this old, highly banked turn that they used way back in the day, and they don't use anymore. I think Top Gear was there once and tried to run it, and it's really bumpy. Anyway, it's something. The first race mirrored the Lemons car selections for Sunday, and so several of us tried the new car that they've opened up for this week, the Lotus 49. It's a late 60s F1 car. It was driven so well by Jim Clark, among others.
Ooh.
Yeah. I took that one, and it was a lot of fun, but it was a bit of a handful, and the brakes are terrible, but it'll go 200 miles an hour, and it sounds great. Second time where we did the combined track was almost all Lotuses and 87s, and one Mustang and one NAS truck. Really, the oval is really challenging, especially coming back into the road course. There's a big bump, and it's really tough to do without hitting something. And the Lotus is not a fan of hitting things, where the NASCAR can just kind of ride the guardrail into it. Yeah, exactly. But both of them have no brakes to speak of. So you basically have to brake it like halfway down the straight in order to make the turn one chicane, which is exciting. But everyone, even the aliens, which we had plenty of them among the 15 people we had there, everyone wrecked once. Jay Becker, I think, won. Excuse me. Dave was second by just a few seconds, and I apparently was third because my crash wasn't all that bad, and it was close to the pits, so I could limp it in and get a fast repair instead of a long
Lucky.
show. Right, totally.
Yeah. I'm sorry I wasn't at any of the races or at the Lemons race, but after doing what I did to my wife's car, I was not allowed to play on the internet.
No.
I was banned.
No way. So anyway, you got to try the Forza Monza sometime. Maybe this weekend if you're here, to hop in and try the Lotus at Monza. It is exciting.
Yeah.
Put it that way.
Excellent.
You know who else should try Monza? Chrissy's mom.
Sure. It's right up her alley.
Take the Mazda 5 out.
Absolutely.
That'll do fine.
It'll do great.
It's probably fine.
It's got conies.
Sure.
And if it doesn't do great, that relates to our first topic.
I was going to say, main topic time.
So you're racing, and your car drives weird. Something is wrong. But what? Where do you look? What do you check? What do you do? We're going to talk about. We have some ideas. Here's what to do.
Jeff, you got something to say?
I was going to say these two stories because we're going to do this and then we're going to talk about VIR, but we're doing it because some of this happened at VIR, right?
Yeah.
So these are connected. This is not a 2-topic show. This is a tech topic rolling into a race report, all the same thing.
Yeah. So first off, start with the basics. What does it do? What is the handling problem that you're having? And first, don't try to diagnose it, especially if you're talking it through with someone. Don't try to tell them what's wrong. Just explain it. Does the car pull? Does it snap? Does it move? Is there a dead spot? Is there balance changes? What is it? So to relate it to this weekend, the Civic was kind of moving around more than it should. It was not handling the transitions of VIR. And I don't know how long it's been like this because like Thompson has no transitions. That was the last race. We changed nothing from Thompson. Thompson's all sweepers and single corners. Like you're never going back and forth. Where VIR, it's got 2 sets of S's, some of them very high speed, and you're carrying a lot of movement there. And an 89 Civic should just destroy transitions and sweepers. Like it's built for that. It's great. But ours wasn't. It was you'd go from one side to the other, and the car would move kind of funny and a little late. And there was a dead spot in the steering on center that was unlike what the car usually has. But you really noticed it when you're going back and forth and back and forth. So that was kind of the initial thought. And then eventually, after some more time, I realized the car understeered in right turns and oversteered in left turns. So.
Okay, so this happened in the Civic. Who discovered it?
Both of us.
But okay.
We both
That's
got out and
important.
we're like, something's wrong. Like it just doesn't feel like it should have been sticking through all of the stuff, no problem.
It was like disconcerting. Like you turn, it was different left to right. Like I turned left and the car would kind of move and I'd worry about the back going out. Like I almost spun in the S's the first time when I started to throw it in, like I expected to be able to, and it didn't work. And then I'd go right and it just kind of delays. And there was that dead spot. Like you had to get through the dead spot and then start to turn, and then it would catch and then it would move. It was weird.
I love that you said that it was like different left to right. That is probably like the key thing that I heard you say. And I wanted to bring this up because we have done this. We have done this for years. We've raced with each other. We've raced with other people. And I'm going to tell a story about someone on another team who might have a podcast. And they are new to driving, and they don't have like an understood vernacular between everybody and between us. So they came to me. I'm trying to pull the gender out of it. They came to me and they said, I don't like the way the ombre handles. And I said, oh, really? Why? And every single word that came out of the next part of the conversation had nothing to do with motorsports handling. It was slippy. It's not right. It spins it, like it didn't have the right vernacular. So it took a moment to say, okay, let's stop what you're saying and let's come up with this word means this and this word means this and this word means this. So we had to play like the definition game for a few minutes to make sure that we understood. And you don't need to know loose or tight or this or that, or it's okay to say things like it's slippy. I just need to know what slippy means. So I'm going to say that if you're the driver and you're trying to explain it to someone and you don't sound like you're communicating right, everybody stop and define your terms. Yes, Mental.
I think it's just better if you say the same word louder and angrier. If I say it's slippy, right. Yeah, if I say it's slippy and you go, what do you mean slippy? I mean it's slippy. Yeah, that usually solves the problem.
Even if you're using the same word, define it, because there were some words that we were communicating back and forth to each other, like loose, that did not mean the same thing to each other.
I mean, the car does get around, but
like a record, baby, round.
Totally, yeah. Okay.
No, I do think this is where your more cohesive teams, the Cressida, for example, sorry for party, you really get an advantage there because they've spent so much time together. They speak each other's language. They know that, oh, well, when Matt says it's slippy, it means this, as opposed to when Dean says it's slippy, it means that. You
obviously weren't in their paddock at CMP, because I don't know if I agree with that, but okay.
No,
but it's building that vernacular, which we had the show on work weekends, and you just start understanding what people mean, and then you start even more subtle. You pick up the tones in their voice of how bad it is by how frustrated they are. We 3 of us on this screen all know the sound of when the Honda breaks after Chris has put 3 weeks worth of work into it in 4 days, because there's a depressed tone that oozes from the microphone. Chris goes, I got a flat tire.
I didn't know it was a
Didn't
flat
know
tire.
he didn't have know he had a flat
That
tire.
something is wrong.
But I'm going to say it's okay to say something is wrong
Sure.
when you don't know. But I'm going to put in one last plug, and then we get back to the civic story. This is the plug for driver's education, because sitting in that classroom gives you that understood vernacular. You start to know what loose means. You start to know what tight means. You can say things like apex and weight transition and contact patch, and you understand the book definition because you go to the same classes together.
It's a common language. You
Common
develop
language.
a common series of brevity terms.
And actually, going back to the tire issue, I wasn't even thinking about that one. At Thompson, this is last year, leading the race, the car was gradually losing grip in left-hand turns, or right-hand turns, excuse me. So I knew something was going on in the left front end. Like wasn't having the same kind of response that I should have. Like the steering was dead to the right, and I was certainly losing grip. I didn't know what it was, but I knew it was getting worse. So I brought the car in saying, just look at the left front, see if anything's wrong, give it a shake, like something. I thought I got to have a bearing going or a ball joint loose, something. Turned out it was a flat tire, but I didn't know that. But I described the symptoms to everybody, told them where to look, and they were able to quickly diagnose, hey, flat tire, easy enough. So, but that's just the same kind of example.
That's
what
true.
Does it do?
That's
Explain
true, because
it.
you were pulling in and I was diagnosing on the radio, and I didn't know what it was either, but I had a mental checklist of the things that it could be. So when you said it was definitely that, we knew which corner it was. We knew that it was a handling problem. We knew that it was not a clunk. I knew I wasn't looking for loose things. I knew I was looking for damaged things. I was looking for something bent. I was looking for something, not broken, but misaligned. I was looking for a leaking shock. I was looking for those kinds of things.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe a bearing because it was letting the wheel flop over,
Bearing
but
was definitely
not
on the
bad
list.
enough that it was going to clunk. Right, exactly.
Yep.
But it was. I described the symptoms. What does it do, and where basically is it? When does it happen? And that let Jeff look for the right thing. That's all.
Didn't you guys also go through this with the boat a couple of years ago when we were running for Class C and the ignition started to go, and we ended up not bringing it in because the guy that was chasing us down suddenly lost pace, but it was an extended conversation. Is it doing this? Is it doing it in every corner? Is it doing it at steady RPM range? And I want to say it was you and Jeff on the radio. You guys both came to the conclusion that it was the coil.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then we
standing by
waited.
with a 10 millimeter in a coil.
You didn't even need you just need a plug and drop.
Eventually, it was 2,500 RPM was all we got. All right.
Can I talk about clunks before you go to the next thing, or do you want to do your next thing first?
No, go ahead. Talk about clunks.
So I just want to talk about clunks because clunk is something, friction noises really in general. I'm not going to really talk about clunks too, but like friction noises or change in tone.
See, that's you're getting ahead of where we're. Let's go back a little bit.
That's what I was asking if you wanted me to go ahead or not. So go ahead.
Well, I didn't see you'd had it there. So more about this. When does it change? Like, does it change when you're on and off the gas? Like Chrissy's dad brought his escape to me saying something doesn't feel right in the front end. So I think it's a shock. Okay, fine. Don't diagnose. Just let me look. So I looked and I go out, take it for a drive, and it's terrible on and off the gas. Like you set up on the gas, it pulls right. You go off the gas, it pulls left. All right, fantastic. And I put it up in the air, and the tie rod end is so loose, I'm surprised he made it to the house. So, but that's it. When you know it's an on and off the gas transition, that means it's probably the drive wheels, and it's probably something that's loose. For example, if it's only when you're braking, that's a different story. If it's only when you're accelerating, something else loose. Like where think about the pressure. Where does the suspension pressure go when you accelerate or when you brake? Is it one side? Is it only in turns? All these are all things to think about and help diagnose it, and just start working the load paths backwards from where you are. If it's in both directions, well, what are the odds of both sides going at once? That's a little different. So now you have to start thinking bigger, like maybe it's something that affects both sides, like a steering rack. Or if you have a live axle, it could be moving around or something. Like follow the load paths. Where does the force go when you do when you do something that makes it make a noise, and trace it back from there. So
back to the Civic, you said that it was turning different amounts of grip left to right.
Yep.
Was it making any kind of noise? Was transition of the throttle changing any of it?
Nope. You could do whatever you want.
Noise.
The only thing the throttle did differently was change the balance, as you would normally expect. Like if it started to oversteer, getting gas, it'll catch it, etc. But no noises, no clunks, no thunks, no nothing.
Okay. I'm scratching my head where the hair used to be, trying to figure out what was wrong with the Civic.
So why don't you keep going with noises and clunks?
Okay, so noises and clunks. I think noises and clunks are friction based. So if you're hearing a clunk, if you're hearing a noise, if you're hearing a growling, if you're hearing a squeaking, these are all things that are some point of friction that did not exist before. It's a little different than like a shock noise, like the squish of the oil in the shock. And I want to get into there. I'm really talking about bad noises. All right. So
is there such thing as a good clunk?
No, but that's what I'm saying. A clunk is
okay.
bad because it is something that is not happening and then something that is automatically happening, like your ball joint popping out. You know what I mean? Like it's tension, clunk. Or it is loose, and when the up and down motion is happening, it is clunking up and down. That is different than just a clunk one way or the other. If you're clunking when a left and a right, just like Chris says, you're putting pressure in one direction. So what is it that is shifting to the left or to the right and making that clunk? Squeaks, squeals, all of these things, these are very metallic sounds, and it probably means that a piece of metal is rubbing up against a piece of metal. And Chris wrote this part in the notes, and he said that there's like fresh metal sometimes to guide you. Sometimes you can see the shiny spot. I'm also going to say sometimes you see the clean spot. Has the oil rubbed in a different way? Is like now something exposed to where you can see the paint that you couldn't see before, where it should be covered in oil. So those are things that you definitely need to search for. I have a clunk in the back of the Mazda 3 that has been there for years. Can't find it. Shook everything. I don't know. Don't care. Keep going. It's not a race car.
It's not doing anything weird.
It's not doing anything weird. There's no, I know it is not 100 things in the suspension. So it is probably something that is not suspension related, like a piece of exhaust.
Check
all
the
the bushings are
bushings.
new.
Rear sway bar end links.
No, new.
Does go bad on those cars a lot. All right.
New. So
good.
It could be, it is something non-suspension related. It is something that happens when the body moves up and down. But I want to mention that because that still can be suspension related. Way back 100 years ago when we had the all-wheel drive Civic, I believe it was at the Capitol offense. Chris came in and said there's something weird in the back end, and we started searching for it, and we couldn't find it. And he said there was a clunk. It was up and down. So we bounced the car up and down, and we found it, and it was a loose top of the shock. And it was the kind of thing that you could not find sitting on the ground. You could touch everything and yank on it, and you weren't going to notice it until you dynamically stressed the suspension and really bounced it. That's the only way we could repeat the clunk. So look for spots. If you can't find the clunk, looking for things like a clean spot or whatever, dynamically start moving the chassis and see if you can locate it. Mental?
Similar issue in the Inglorious Bastards Thunderbird. We were focused on a leak, and the leak was a result of a clunk that we were ignoring. And it was an oil pan, metal hitting metal, because the whole engine was shifting forward and catching on the cross member. And we ignored the clunk to our own detriment and ended up pulling that engine out twice and cracking the oil pan twice. So, and if we'd have done that, if we'd have shook the engine, we probably would have seen it.
Yeah. Another place where maybe a shiny spot or a clean spot could have told you where it was, a witness mark. But anyway, Chris, any of that happening in the Civic?
No. Although I haven't put it up in the air yet, but I still have not finally diagnosed it. I just have a good idea what it is. But what Mental said about shaking the motor is a great way to do this. Get a pry bar, pry the joints of everything that you think it might be to see where the looseness is. Example is Chrissy's Mazda a couple of years ago had a weird like double steer effect. You turned into a corner and then all of a sudden the car would turn more.
Oh, I forgot about this. It took you
Right?
like weeks. Yeah.
A long time. I was convinced it was in the rear because that's what it felt like. It felt like the back end rotating out on you when you turned left.
You thought it was like a towing
higher
problem or something, right?
Right. So I replaced all the links in the rear suspension with junkyard parts from low mileage southern states. And
where have I heard that before?
Right. But I did that and it was great because they were cheap and I got all new OEM bushings and tightened up the whole back end of the car. Guess what? Didn't change anything. So then I started moving around more, looking around, doing the prying, but in the front too. And guess what I found? The ball joint where it attached to the knuckle, the crimp part that holds the upright of the ball joint,
the part that I just cracked on the Subaru, yes.
Right, wasn't crimped tight enough. So when you got enough load on it, the ball joint would actually move a quarter inch or half an inch out of the knuckle,
like pop straight up.
Yeah, exactly, or down.
That way,
but then it would hit the where the bolt was still there, and it has like a divot in the side of the ball joint. So as a safety, the safety was working. It would go to that point, hold it, and then go back. So that was it. It was moving the control arm. Or like Chrissy's mom's car had a throttle steer issue. It was a bad bushing, the compensator bushing and the front control arm. Same kind of thing, but it was on off the gas. All you had to do is pry around, see what something's moving, especially compared to left to right. There's your problem. So the Civic, my current diagnosis is bad corner weights because it moves differently in two different directions. And I have not corner weighted the car since I did the suspension changes over the winter. I changed the front springs to get a little more height and rate in them. And I never corner weighted. I just said, well, these springs are 2 inches taller than the ones that are on the car. So I'm going to move the perch exactly 2 inches. And I measured it and moved it 2 inches and figured that was close enough. But the fact that it oversteers left and understeers right. And the other reason I think that is the right rear wheel locks up under braking before any of the rest of them, which makes me think that wheel is a little lighter. It's not getting the pressure, which is why it's locking up, which is why it's oversteering because it doesn't have the pressure on it.
Interesting.
That's my guess. I also think I need to just spend a little more time with alignment, and I think I may have some bushings going bad because all the bushings in that car are all out of the front ones are all out of the Wago van, which means they started being used in the year 2002.
Yeah, that's a long time ago.
We have put probably 50,000 racing miles on them in addition to the street miles they had.
Racing miles.
So I'm guessing that.
And that Wago van was not light. That had a lot of extra body on it.
It was about 300 pounds more than our hatch. And then I'm also thinking I just got to spend triple check alignment because we checked alignment at the track, and I actually towed out about a quarter inch to try to get rid of the dead spot in the steering. It helped a little. We also then, as a Band-Aid, stuck some more. We added wang in the back just to get more high speed stability in the back and the rear, and it helps.
I thought you had all your wang out already.
No, the rear wang we had on the lowest angle of attack, which is still gets us something. So we put it about halfway up, more wang, which helped with stability. Absolutely.
So you made it stand a little straighter.
It did. It was
honestly,
up a little.
Normally, standing your wang
it was a semi up.
Standing your wang out in public does not indicate stability, so you've got a problem.
Yeah, no, this one it definitely helped. And then the last symptom that I really don't know what to do with is the car gets unstable above 120, and that it just starts to walk kind of left and right, even though you're holding the wheel perfectly straight.
And I think we talked about that in New Jersey, but we were diagnosing axle problems. And,
New Jersey, we had a bunch of other things going on. So
yeah, and it feels, and I know I'm diagnosing based on history, it feels, despite the very aggressive application of air dams, it feels, I'm not saying this is what the problem is, but it feels like there's air under the car.
Yeah, I don't know how it's getting there at this point.
Yeah, this splitter is really low and the bottom is really flat.
But that's what it felt like when we were driving. So
yeah,
right.
Yeah,
and it could be a situation too where maybe we just need to add some rake in order to get a Venturi underneath that to suck the car down a little more.
Yeah, and I tried to build in rake to the splitter by doing that. Anyway, the issue had handled poorly in New Jersey a long time ago. Mental was the alignment was way out of whack. We had way too much.
And we were chewing up axles, and it was also, it's
higher now. It was lower then.
It was unsettling because we ran the dawn course, and it was unsettling. Redlining in 6, and the car just kind of going.
I'm a dancing.
And you
Especially
just,
when you hit the brakes.
You just kind of let the wheel go, and you just matted and prayed.
Although I will tell you guys, we did solve the brake issue. I tightened up the brake line, and I tightened up everything along that, including at the proportioning valve, and it bled out and had good pedal all weekend. Also, the car now brakes perfectly straight.
Oh, although I didn't find any braking hunting that was going on Tom's side.
Oh,
it would go right to you'd be afraid you're going to go into the car next to you.
Yeah, it would go hard right every time. And I think it was the right rear caliper was loading up and not releasing all the way.
I do remember that.
The car would go hard right. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I just used that because it was a right turn. So
braced for the inevitable.
Basically, yes.
Yeah. Now it brakes. It brakes straight. It's great. Except now it locks up the right rear wheel first, but it brakes straight. So.
And depending on how hard you hit the brakes, sometimes it looks like there's the puff of smoke is very large. So
because you're just dragging that wheel along.
People behind you might be like, "Oh, what just happened?" Because it's pretty big.
I feel like we're ready to move on to the next section, but I could be wrong. And I apologize because I did not type into your wonderful notes about this because I ran VIR a few years ago. I want to say 17. But we mentioned that you guys went to VIR. I had been encouraging you to go to VIR, and this NASA weekend showed up. So I am genuinely interested in hearing your impressions of VIR, both as a track and a facility.
Well, add on as you hear them. So, Chrissy, start us off.
Let's go. Okay, so the facility was wonderful. Everything's really spread out, just enough to walk, but it's actually even better if you have a way to scoot in whatever way. Matt brought his electric razor-like scooter.
It's like a bird scooter.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's a rolly bot.
So Scooty didn't make it?
Oh,
no, Scooty
did.
Oh, okay.
We had two.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
All right, so they have
10 miles on Scooty this weekend.
Nice.
It's awesome. Not because we just used it a lot, not because it's not far away from everything. Everything's definitely very walkable. They have lovely garages, multiple sets of bathrooms. They have showers in them too. Plenty of paddock space. We were not even close to some of the people that we were with. So we all had, they have squares on the ground, but we had plenty of room to both of our sides, which is pretty awesome. They had a lovely area for a wedding. But right there during this weekend, there was an E30 meet. So that was, lovely. They had a good time there. Lots of lights and there's
with
other
track or without track. Like they were just meeting.
Yeah. There's just like a pavilion kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was.
And
just,
they were using the skid pad too. I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, so there was but I think you could at least easily put it up as a wedding. They have a lot of other activities on the ground. They had skeet shooting, skid pad, like we mentioned. They have karting, and they also have multiple places on the premises to get food. So they had a tavern and a snack bar, and I think they had a bar too. So plenty of things around. Really nice place. Really clean. They empty the trash all the time. I'm giving it a grade A.
Yeah, picturesque.
So the
nice
E30 meet, douchey or non-douchey E30s?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're BMW owners, so you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there were nice ones. Some of them were nicely done. It seemed okay. They didn't bother us. They were far away.
I'm just going to completely agree with Chrissy on everything here. Great facility. Everything seemed nice. Everyone was nice. It was very picturesque.
It is gorgeous. The scenery.
Yeah.
Were the leaves starting to turn? Because I imagine it's
not yet.
Fall.
Not yet. No.
But like in the summer, all the trees are very shaded. It's actually, you can kind of get out of the sun if you're stuck in the paddock kind of an area. I like it.
As long as you're not in the Black Lake. Yeah. Very nice facility overall. Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, moving on to the track. It was awesome. Track was awesome. Just enough elevation changes, long, fast straights, a couple of them, bunch of tight turns, slaloms, great place. All of where the flagging stations were really great. You really didn't have to look too far out of where they were. I was missing my colored lines from iRacing. It must have rained or something. Just the dew every morning took away the little iRacing lines.
Everybody tells me not to run the lines. So I don't run the lines.
I don't run the lines either.
Well,
I
it's
probably
nice to know
should.
just to know where your breaking point is on cars you're not used to.
Well, I use it or not, but I mean, it's nice to know, like where you're headed. So
I do use them.
Okay. Okay. Well, we do. So anyway, I feel like it was technical enough that it takes plenty of the weekend, if not more, to make sure that you're getting even close to right. So I'm giving it a day.
Yeah. This is on my top 3 on the East Coast right now. The entire facility might be 1 overall on the East Coast, I got to say.
As a whole.
Yeah, as a whole. The whole
what is your top 3? Just give everyone scale.
For the East Coast, my favorite tracks, I think, would be this and Road Atlanta and Pit Race. I think are the 3 most fun tracks on the East Coast.
Tracks, not using facilities, just the tracks itself.
Not using facilities, just tracks. But the facilities here might make this number 1 overall because the facilities are so nice. The bathrooms are nice. The showers are nice. There's ample food. There's everything you need and a great track. And it's pretty. Like that kind of puts it up to number 1 overall.
Interesting. I just have a question about the speed because you were saying about how fast it is. Where would you rank it in the East Coast of fast tracks?
Beyond anything
fastest.
Absolutely fastest. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it'd be close between the long straight at Road Atlanta and this. Depends on the car and the kind of run you get out of it, but you get
there's more places, more straights.
Yeah, the Civic was mid 120s. My HPD2 student had a C7 Z06, and we were going 155 coming into the braking zone.
It'll do that.
Yeah.
See, I think the New Jersey Dong course is pretty damn fast too.
I got it, but we had about the same speed there with the Civic too. We were mid 6s in RPM in 6th gear.
Yeah. Hold on, mental 1 second. This felt worse because it's longer. So we held a sustaining top speed for longer, and you have up and down when you have multiple up and down on the back straight. I think this is
coming out of where the oak tree used to be.
Yes, correct. Yeah. Yes. I mean, it's fast. It's long. It's one of those things where you're like, I got a lot of time. And if I lose a wheel, I'm screwed because you just you have a long time to think about all the things that could happen.
and that's
the
why
highest speed section is the kind of uphill at the end. Like it's downhill, so you get all the speed up, and then it's uphill, so you just maintain your very high speed up to up.
Yeah.
And
more
then you
like
go
in Road Atlanta,
over a lip.
A long straight versus New Jersey, which is a turn followed into a fast turn followed into a not tremendously long straight. Yeah. Go ahead, Mental. I'm sorry.
No, and so and the reason I ask all this is anyone who's been unfortunately around me at one of these older tracks after I've had 3 drinks is I go on a rant about how modern tracks are designed to mimic old tracks. Oh, we've copied this turn in Belgium and we copied this turn in Suzuka, and VIR falls into that heading of like Road Atlanta, like Pit Race, like your classic Mid Ohio, all of your 70s tracks where literally they just kind of made it up as they went along. That VIR
is even worse than that.
Mimic anything. They just kind of like go through there.
There's a cow there. Go around that one. That's where best
VIR was. It was a couple guys with a bulldozer. That's what VIR.
Exactly. One of them's called Hog Pen. That's they. Yeah. Yes.
VIR is more like Lime Rock, and Lime Rock was a couple dudes with an MG just drove through the woods until they had their little line, right? And then they had some more friends with MGs.
Well, we better cut this tree back a little because this one's a little close, and let's cut that tree back. It's a little close, and all of a sudden you have a track.
I don't think you're going to see this again for a very, very, very long time. But VIR didn't copy anything, and as a result of that, it is a track that people copy. There are turns at VIR that are copied everywhere else, and the S is going up by the condos and all that other kind of stuff. And there is a definitive sense of history while you're there. It just feels like an old track. It feels like Mid Ohio. It feels like Lime Rock. It feels like Watkins Glen. It feels like Road Atlanta. I don't know if there's a tangible sense to it, but you're at an old track the whole time you're there, and I love it.
But you actually get lots of runoff room, which you usually don't get at old tracks. So
fact.
That's nice. Which some places you need it because you are hauling.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when we run our E1R league and people were going airborne coming off that back straightaway, Chris and Chrissy were just talking about, that's real. You will go into orbit if you do not get on the brakes correctly coming through that corner.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. Next up.
Okay. Company. So we were really excited to spend the weekend with our friends Eric and Matt, which is not the pantless Matt, but also in Matt F. So we had lots of deep discussion, had some hilarious movie references, terrible ballads, and had jazz music on while we were having dinner. And Roland was apparently there, but we never actually saw him except for when he was on grid.
I did see him. I saw him briefly.
Did
I
you?
walked by,
Did you
I said
talk to
hello.
him?
I did.
Oh,
And he didn't recognize me, and then all of a sudden he did, and that was great. So it was nice to see Roland, and I passed him while he was out there. That's how I knew he was there, because I passed his car. I said, "That's Roland's car."
It's that
so we actually
E36, right?
Yeah, and then he got passed by me, and he said, "Man, I even got passed by the Civic." And then he realized it was us. So he's like, "Oh, I feel much." I said, "I feel much better now."
Hard to recognize it without the Godzilla head. He didn't.
We knew that he was
You're
there.
not kidding.
Because Matt and I were on Facebook, and he said, "Here, I'm at VIR," and we're like, "Where is he?" So both of us we were zooming in on his picture to try to figure out what his flag said, so we could figure out where he was in the paddock. And then we went over there, and he wasn't there. So
I saw you you're like, "Where are you? We'll come say hi," and he ignored you. Yeah.
Well, we totally. Well, I saw him, talked to him for a bit. Also, there was Jeff from Race Bar.
Yes, I forgot.
So anyway,
can I have a point of order?
Yeah.
I believe Matt Farinchek gets discussed enough on this show that he needs a nickname.
It'll come with time. How about that?
Okay.
Water plant Matt.
The name of his team is Silent but Deadly Matt. Should we say Farty Matt?
The name of his team is Matt Farinchek Racing.
That's true.
Matt Farinchek Motorsports, yes.
That's fair.
It actually is. But he says parentheses now, Silent but Deadly.
I was going to try and go like F with farts, but I don't know. Keep going. Let's go back to VIR. Ignore Jeff. Jeff is out of order.
Anyway, our company was great. Nice people is what makes the sport fun, like anything. So it was great to have good friends with us. And, no matter what happens on, for the rest of the weekend, hanging out with good friends at the racetrack is always a good time. And it was nice to do that with Matt. Matt brought his C5 Corvette, and Eric brought his Cayman. And
numbers are hard.
Yeah, everything was fine. Everyone had a good time. So, but it was just nice to have the people there.
Totally.
We want to mention that this was not NASA Great Lakes. This was NASA Mid-Atlantic, right?
Correct.
We're totes getting there.
I know that. I'm trying to set you up. It's called a transition.
Oh, well, I was going to talk about food first, but okay.
Jeff's got a degree in radio broadcast.
But I screwed up because I didn't read the notes. Keep going. Ignore Jeff. He is still out of order.
Food. Let's talk food. So we ate super well. This is what happens when I try to assign people to bring stuff, and they bring everything. And so we said, "Here, bring a lunch." And I said horse duvers. So we had horse duvers with every meal. That's hors d'oeuvres. We had big kid omelets. So we had 2 meats, 2 cheeses, stuff it all. We had grilled bagels. We had dinner. We had buffets for lunch. We were like, I brought some cold cuts. I brought some chicken salad. There's lettuce wraps. There's this kind of rolls. What do you want? We have it. And of course, Matt went to Costco. So we had like vats of things for 4 of us. For dinner, we had 2 kinds of steak and 2 kinds of potatoes. Grade A+. We ate so well.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Everybody contributed, and we ate better than people that went and stayed at hotels for the weekend.
Absolutely. We talked about going out. We're like, "Oh, well, let's just go out to dinner." And then I'm like, Chris and I were talking, I'm like, I have some steaks. We could just get out of the freezer. Let's bring some potatoes. Like, we could just throw it on the grill. And we ate so much.
Because that's one thing to know about VIR. It is in the middle of nowhere. There is a tiny town that has a main street about 200 feet long. That's in North Carolina. That's there, and I think there's like a sandwich shop, a pizza shop. Like that's it. There's no gas stations, no nothing. You have to drive 20 minutes to Danville to find.
Which is a nice town, actually. We got pizza there.
Totally.
Yes, mental.
Which I did on my scooter. I rode all the way through that town because the pizzeria was closed, and I had to go all the way to that sketchy gas station on the state highway to get some food to cook on my grill when I was there Actually, it was funny because I guess everyone on that road is used to seeing scooters on the racetrack, and they all just gave me a nice wide berth and waved at me. I was scared until I saw how aware everyone on that little tiny curvy road was of scooters.
That's good. I would be scared because it's definitely
Scooter
like
fans.
it's
Always
like one
a
of
good
those.
thing.
It's a one lane each way road, but it's a highway because there's people that are towing and then there's people that are coming off the racetracks. Like we had somebody behind him that Chris tried to point him by, because it was obviously like a car that just came from the racetrack and we were towing our car. He didn't take the point, but anyway, yeah.
It was in a passing zone. No one was coming. I thought he'd recognize the point by, but
I think he couldn't see your hand actually because it was really far away.
But I feel like the whole community is very supportive of that track.
Well, it's the only thing there. Like, really?
You mean there's a track in America that doesn't have a church next to it, or
this did.
They still had Jesus hours.
We had Jesus hour.
Okay,
it's fine. It's called lunch, but that's why we raced
12.
at like 11. We raced at 10:45, and then not again till 2:45 or something stupid.
Jesus hour is a lot less disruptive of a track day than it is of a race.
Yeah.
Sure, yes, but
it
still extends the time that we have between the time that you go on track and the time you don't go on track.
But you sit around and wait at a track day, even if there isn't a Jesus hour.
Sure. All right. All right. HPDE. Now you can give me the lead in, please.
It's too late. Just tell us about
too
NASA
late.
Mid-Atlantic.
Okay. We were at NASA Mid-Atlantic, and so it was just as negative as I remember it used to be. So, so we were all in HPD 3. So that was Matt, Eric, and I, which usually means less instruction and less classroom, which equals classroom and in car. So the biggest push was to remember your point buys. Because apparently the faster cars there were more specialer than the slow cars, which I was absolutely a slow car. I was all, as we know in One Lap of America, all remaining cars. So I basically said, is that the end of the line? I'm going to go there. So I went there every time, no matter how fast it was going, doesn't really matter.
But like Matt's Corvette and Eric's Cayman were also among the slower cars out there. That's the kind of hardware that's there.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
We need that on a blip shift shirt. All remaining cars.
Yes.
Can now enter the track.
What we were talking about HPD winners. We're going to get some that say you won HPD because basically, I actually got it talking to the guy, came over on his little bike and said, you're in 3, you're not doing enough point buys. And I was like, so there's plenty. I was like, literally, I can't take my hands off the wheel. If I'm going through a corner, I can't just point you by. I need both hands. And he was like, you have to be watching. There's more people behind you. And we're talking trains that were like 3 or 4 cars, but we're talking through 2 corners. It's not like we went a whole lap and I have the whole track behind me. It's like I wasn't pointing by people in the corner that I was in. And I truly believe that most of the people have only driven 200 to 500 horsepower cars and don't know what it's like to drive a slow car. So I'm in my slow car. I'm losing momentum just so you can push the gas so you can get around this corner faster. You're going to leave me in the dust and I'm going to take 3 other corners to get back up to speed.
And by slow car, we're not talking about an NA Miata with 98 horsepower.
No. And I said you would have been miserable.
Yeah.
Miserable. So
well, you could have done the whole course without lifting.
Well, even then, then you would have had to point by, then you had to lift because people thought that they should be in front of you. We all paid the same money. Like I had to give myself pep talks to be like, okay, we're all on the same path. We all paid our own money. I should have drive my line. And then people would be like, you didn't get point buys. So moving on. Jeff, you mentioned classroom earlier. The classrooms were all bitch sessions about who didn't point by fast enough. Right. So every time I'm like, oh, no. You can't see me. I'm sinking down if you're not watching YouTube. I am like, and of course, I'm in Godzilla. Like people are going to be like, we had plenty of like, were you in the gray BMW? Were you in? Oh no, I was in the black BMW. Okay, wasn't you? Who was 17?
Who was in the graphite BMW? I was in the Battleship BMW.
BMW. What, being douchebags on a track day? No.
Well, it was worse than that. It was the Mustangs and the Corvettes and the Caymans and the stock cars. I mean, they were like the blah 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 blah, like those like huge ass cars that had no like, and then there was little me. And it was like, it was sad. So we had no race technique. We had nothing to talk about. Here's how you go. Well, we talked all about 3 wide, but there's one place you can go 3 wide, and that was not the best. There was no classroom. There was no technique.
There was no instruction.
There was
nothing.
Nothing
Downloaded.
No education. And the download wasn't. We started with, what were the positives? Well, some people gave me some point buys, and then the rest was like, yeah, but this person didn't give me enough point buys. That was slow. They were slow. They didn't do it right. Who was in that car over there? It was terrible.
Sounds like part of it also is they're putting too many people in groups. They need to start having a cutoff.
Well, we had 49. So yeah.
49 in your group?
Yes.
Yeah. There's your problem.
3.5 mile
long. 3.5 long.
Clearly they need to quit thinking about the money and start cutting people off in smaller.
No, they don't care. They don't care.
Yeah,
so I wasn't going to bring this up, but since the idea of bitching about point buys has come up, the internet exploded in Champ Car land because somebody was demanding more point buys at the Champ Car race. And I want to say that Bill Strong, you guys know we love Bill Strong. Bill Strong said, shut the F up about the point buys, and said, this is a race and you're not getting them. So +1 for the Champ Car guys.
Which again, every time we've met Bill Strong, I resubmitted for our SEMA credentials. And one of the things I submitted was our interview with Bill Strong last year at SEMA. Never had a bad conversation with that guy. Yeah, dude, it's a race. I am obligated to give you nothing.
Yeah.
The problem was it was top down, and Chris was probably going to go into this as well, but it was top down. It was leadership saying you need to do better. It was the guy sitting up front, the leader of 3, telling the group, watch your point buys. Make sure that you're watching your mirrors. You should be driving your mirrors. And I found myself absolutely driving in my mirrors. I'm trying to drive and I'm like, okay, late break here. And I'm like, oh crap, somebody behind me. And I'm actively watching for people behind me. Okay. So Chris has some insight. Let's go.
Yeah, I totally agree. The instructor meetings even had a bad attitude from the top down, mostly bitching about point buys. The chief instructor, like he's kind of like a grumpy guy. I think that's kind of his shtick. He's this old guy with a big beard.
Yeah, I'm track old
right.
man. Rah, rah, rah.
Right. But it was bitching about point buys, and like that's where it all comes from. And it doesn't make for a good attitude, doesn't make for good feelings, it doesn't make for any kind of education, it doesn't make for a positive environment in any way. The attitude basically is that faster cars have an immediate right of way and slower cars are second class citizens, no matter what it is. And slower cars, we're not talking 1.6 Miatas, like
no, you're talking the Civic that's doing 120 plus.
Right, it's 10 to 1 power to weight. That's pretty quick. But like when Matt's C5 Corvette is not a fast car, like that's the kind of hardware that's there. And people on Hoosiers and HPDE, what the hell are you doing? Yeah. You're not learning anything. You're
Hoosiers
not
on HPDEs. It's just not.
Well,
you're missing the point.
They're too scared to go wheel to wheel.
You're missing the point. Well, go to TT then.
Yeah,
go to time
totally.
Attack. There's great
they
folks
did advertise
that'll give you a great time.
They advertised that in our thing. So that was the only thing they said. They're like, you could be racers, you could be driving with better drivers and cooler cars and going faster. Join TT. And then it was it. It wasn't like, here, let me teach you these things in education. I'm sorry, I'll let you talk in a second.
Sure, they're not getting anywhere that way. Like,
they weren't teaching you how to be a racer.
Right. Compare it to Great Lakes region, which is really actively teaching you to do stuff. Like they're doing actual 3 wide drills and race start drills in 3.
Yeah.
They're doing, like to hear the stuff that Bill was talking about. We talked to him on the way home. He was coming home from Great Lakes at Audubon.
Audubon, yeah.
But he said he was in 3 this weekend. And he absolutely won in the group and the instruction and the atmosphere and the feel. And we run on the track because VIR is so much better than Audubon. But just having him talk about like the download sessions, they would go on for a long time, but it was actually like racecraft and, improving your speed. And, they would actually pair up cars of like speed to kind of work together and things. And like they just did so much to actively make it right.
Drills. If you're not running drills, you're not a driver's education weekend.
No, it's just a lap day.
It's a lap day.
Great.
Yeah.
If I just want to do a lapping day, I'm not going to go to NASA. I'm going to pay for someone that I can get probably more track time for less money because they don't have the racing and TT and stuff going on at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the Mid-Atlantic region just does a terrible, terrible job of instructing, especially at higher levels. The one stuff I think was okay, because I had one student, and from what he told me about the classroom, it seemed reasonable. I didn't really hear much. Everything kind of went pretty well. There's lots of room to spread on a track. It was clean. It was really nice to have a great one student because he had some experience. He had a great attitude. And he actually listened to me and made huge amount of progress over the weekend. And by the end of the weekend, he was
found
really
the Corvette driver who listens.
No, BRZ.
Oh, okay. I thought you said you had a student in a BR.
My two student had a Corvette, but my one student had a BRZ. Nice guy, and he was really hauling. By the end of the weekend, made really big improvements, and he was always safe. So the one seemed okay, but anything beyond one is just bitch sessions about point buys instead of actually teaching things like, traffic management or working together, like seriously, there's no education. And the hardware is stupid too. Like my group, again, like I said before, my two student that I just had a check ride with, I went out with him once a day because he was solo. It's a Z06 on Hoosiers. Holy crap. This thing, like I had to reset my brain on what is possible at the speeds we were going. Really?
Yeah.
Like it was unbelievable. Like I was actually got a little ill because the car was just so violent, and he wasn't really all that smooth, especially early on because he was learning.
Well, Corvette, not smooth.
But also, getting out as sick. That's
a group 2 person.
Shocked face.
But again, a group 2, a C7 Z06 on Hoosiers is the problem, because that is entirely too much car for someone who does
He's
not
not
have
learning anything.
Yeah.
And I had a hard time getting him to stop just blasting down the straights and then braking and just carry
drag
a line,
race,
get some smoothness, right?
Drag race, full stop, drag race, full stop, drag race, full stop.
And
but I'm going faster than everyone else.
Yeah, you are. But if you had a Miata on street tires, you would learn so much more.
Yeah.
The guy was nice enough, though. Actually, he had a pretty good attitude.
They're doing a Trackzilla thing, or a Jzilla, which Jzilla would give them what they want, which is an opportunity to just mash the throttle and go fast.
Yeah.
As opposed to NASA, which is supposed to be about education.
Which Great Lakes does a great job at.
They really do. They
really do. It's amazing. Well, I also participated in a new program. It's called the Supra.
I wanted to hear about this. Very good. Go.
So if you buy Supra, Toyota gives you a year of NASA membership and 1 track experience. So these people got to go to the track, and they had like some classroom time. They had some skid pad time. And at the very end of the day, there was 40 minutes where an instructor takes you out in your Supra for 15 or 18 minutes. Then you stop, you switch places, and then you drive your Supra for 15 or 18 minutes until the end. So I had a very nice lady named Carmen from West Virginia. She bought herself a Supra for her 40th birthday because to replace her Camry. She works for Toyota building transmissions for Camrys and RAV4s at the factory in West Virginia there.
Carmen. Yeah, I've never met her, and I love her.
Nice lady. We had a great time, and I was driving. Imagine imagine 20 Supras with instructors driving them.
Were they all 6-cylinder, or were there some of the 2-liters?
I think they were all 6 cylinders. Okay. So we're all doing 130 down the straight. Yeah. We're all we're driving them 80%, like fast enough that the people in them go, oh my God, like they can't even fathom what the car is doing. And we're all just having a nice time.
And you're like, I'm not going to break Carmen's car. I'm going to be nice.
Right. Yeah. I was. And she was saying, like, I can't even believe the car does this. I'm like, yeah, I'm drafting it like 70% right now.
Yeah.
Like the car's got a lot more to go. It's a good car. Anyway, so I had a great time with that and switched, and she drove, and she did fine. She listened very well. She did what I wanted. She wasn't too aggressive, but still we got her going 125 down the straightaway, and she just got tickled pink because she was doing 125 when I told her after the fact. She's like, no way. So that was a fun experience. They all seemed to have a good time. So that was nice.
Yeah. In that one, people ask me why I still do extreme experience. That right there, just planting.
I was going to say, this reminds me of extreme experience.
The thrill, and reminding Carmen, you made the right choice. You bought a cool car. Good on you.
Yep. Yeah. I will give Mid-Atlantic region some props for things they do well, because there are a couple things they do well. they keep to schedule. Like they're
on time.
They
make the trains on time. That was my best German accent. I'm sorry.
They really do, and they're planning ahead of time. They're very clear about their communication. They had everything ran very smoothly, and even when people crashed, which they crashed every single session in the mornings because it was cold and everyone's trying to go balls to the wall.
But they started on green. They didn't give you a yellow lap. They started on green. So you're like each set goes out. It's icy, right? It's dewy. The ground is wet.
Not really icy, right?
No, right, but it's cold. Like it was hella cold. Like it was 40 degrees.
Slippy.
So it was slippy, right? It was slippy. That's exactly what it was. But the ground was slippy, but the grass was just as slippy. So you put a wheel off, you are sliding away. Yeah. So the first 3 sessions on Saturday ended, but they were also not giving you a yellow lap. They were starting on green. Normally,
one, they gave you a yellow lap, but aside from that, yeah. So then wonder why everybody crashed first thing in the morning. I don't know. How's your Hoosiers in 40 degrees?
Yeah.
Oats. Truth.
Anyway, so as the day went on, though, like what they actually did, they updated the schedule on the website so you could download one, and they actually even pulled 15 minutes out of lunch to get things on track, and actually 5 minutes ahead, knowing that they were going to get behind later on, and it's like really, really well done.
Okay.
With scheduling and keeping things moving. So
cool. Something good.
Something good.
Overall grade for NASA Mid-Atlantic is a C.
You gave it a C. I had a little.
I said C because they ran things really. The organization was very good, and I thought the 1 seemed to be okay, but 2, 3, 4 useless.
Yep.
Yeah,
I'll agree.
Didn't they do a weekend with Great Lakes so they could take over and see how to do it right and steal their
yes,
and they did nothing.
They don't but they don't care. No, they don't care. People are still, if there's 50 cars going into one section, the money's still happening. They don't have to change anything. And the thing is that I was talking to people and in 3 there was another guy with a Honda and he said he built it for this region, this for 3. If you don't go to different regions, you may not know any different. So you don't think it's that bad. You're getting on track, you're getting track time. If you're not a race car driver, you don't go to other events, you don't go to other regions, you don't know any different. So I don't think they're thinking that it's anything worse because they're still getting on track.
Having been to 3 regions, because we're right in the middle of them all, we've seen all the different experiences and what each one does well. So.
Got it. Mental, go ahead.
And this is a reflection of the leadership of those different regions. A lot of us, we get involved. I know we're all too busy to be on any of the boards. So these, grumpy old bearded instructor guy, who being the grumpy old bearded instructor guy, that's his shtick. He's going to keep getting elected to these positions, and he's going to be the chairman of this and the chairman of that. And as long as the guy who bought the retired NASCAR stalker that has been set up for road racing is happy, he's going to keep getting elected. I tell you that to say this. If you enjoy this sport, not just limits, but just high performance drivers education, and you find a region that you enjoy, get involved in the board of directions. And especially if you want to start changing things and making things better, you're going to run into resistance. And this is the thing that drove me away from the SCCA in the 90s. And it wasn't until I met Haywood Wagner 5 years ago that I finally rejoined the SCCA, because there are people that want to make it better for new people. Stop letting your organization cater to the old heads. That is how you kill something. This is why Harley is screaming for market share right now, because they catered to the old dinosaurs and they did not cater to the new market. And this is why the SCCA is thriving, is because they have finally gotten rid of the old heads and they're bringing in the new blood that is trying to get the new members. I'll jump off my soapbox now. Sorry.
Cool. My father's on the board. He's like 1,000.
Yep.
And he doesn't want anything to change, or does he care?
But I will say he does embrace all the new technology and he runs everything.
There it is. If he wants new people in, and he
knows it. He knows his sport is dying.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want to spend this much time with the Mid-Atlantic group because I don't really like them.
Yeah.
So
is why I'm playing the sad trombone. I was trying to get the sad trombone, but it's like stuck. It's terrible.
It's a sad trombone. It's not supposed to be good.
Yeah.
Jeff has failed to maintain the sad trombone.
Because I want to do Watkins Glen, and we want to do VIR, and there are really great tracks that Mid-Atlantic won't come do.
Or Great Lakes won't come to.
Great Lakes,
Right.
sorry.
Well, NASA Northeast isn't as bad as Mid-Atlantic, but they're not as good as Great Lakes.
Yeah.
Anywhere
Okay.
near.
And I would
But
encourage
there-
anyone in
there
this,
are other organizations. We're just talking about NASA's. There's all
in
kinds
the
of other
southern
organizations.
part of the states. I highly encourage you to check out the Mardi Gras region of NASA. Very small, but they're very progressive, and they are all about the new people.
NASA's just easy because of our, as an instructor, I get to go for free and it's easier and blah blah blah. But
NASA Mardi Gras region. If you're within a day's drive of New Orleans, it's awesome.
But NASA Great
They will
Lakes
not run on time. I'm going to go just drop that little bomb right there. But
Well,
you're going to have a
it's
great
New
time.
Orleans. Nothing
They're
happens.
drunk.
Yeah, it is. But you are going to
Hey,
get.
it
not
had a
only-
lid on it when I picked it up from the drive-through daiquiri shop, so it's fine.
You're going to get personalized instruction from multiple instructors, and people are actually going to bring a chair over to your pit, sit down, and talk to you. And they are all about the new folks. And so there are regions out there. Find those organizations.
Yeah, it's like Great Lakes and Mardi Gras regions right there. They can do it well, but they can do it poorly, like Mid-Atlantic does, which is a shame because Mid-Atlantic was the first one, and they've just ruined it. Anyway,
let's wrap this
That's
up.
it.
Is there any COVID? Because there was right seat in this, but not much, right?
no,
So
I was right seat
yeah, we
all
were right
weekend
seat.
with my
Yeah.
wand, but
Okay.
we both had masks on and helmets and windows open.
Got it. Cool.
I-
So you felt comfortable.
I felt okay with that. I mean, I figured with windows open in a car going 120 miles an hour is pretty much like being outside.
inside a helmet
Right.
where you're only breathing your own air anyway.
And I had my student both had a mask on inside our helmet too. So like,
You changed out your little like when the pop. What do you call this thing?
my
changed that out.
the intercom that I give to my student.
Oh, yeah,
I took the felt pad off
yes.
and I wrapped it in a paper towel instead of shop towel with a zip tie on it. And then when I had to change it to give it to my 2 student and to my super lady, I clipped the zip tie off and rubbed the whole thing with hand sanitizer and put a new paper towel on, trying to be nice to everybody.
Well played, sir.
Very good.
Yeah, I
love
thought that was the
this.
best way to actually having in car and having communications made it a lot better.
Nice.
Trying to move the sad trombone. So I can
Okay.
pull out my COVID safe Zepp industrial towels. Ooh.
Where
Great
are they
job.
made, Jeff?
Thanks.
Bangladesh.
They're hard
Where
to
are
find.
they made?
No idea.
Yeah, I bet it's on the box.
Why
It's
does
not
that
worth
matter?
finding.
I'm making a China joke. Go ahead.
Okay. So now we're down
Anyway.
for our next topic.
Next topic. We're running along. Sorry.
Hella sweet or but terrible, says Evanston, Georgia on the box. Okay, this is where we haven't done one of these in a while. This is where Jeff tells you what he has and what his plan is, and all of you tell me why I'm an idiot or maybe not so much of an idiot. Ready and go. I have spoken in the past about my Ryobi 40 volt and how they are perfect because the battery dies as soon as I'm fed up with trimming my yard. All of my 40 volt batteries died, and due to some internet research, I have found out that they get a little too low, and the electronic says, "Oh, this is a bad battery, so we're not going to charge you anymore." And the electronics are saving the battery, but bricking the batteries when the cells inside are fine. It's just the electronics are like too much of a sissy nanny to let you charge them. But Ryobi, being a good company, is like totally warranting these things for up to 3 years. So I'm getting 2 40 volt batteries sent to me for free.
Woo! I love this stuff.
Yeah.
Getting free things. It's
Free
great.
things. Mental, do you want me to ask the question or you?
Yeah,
want to
ask
interrupt
the question. I'm just
Okay.
I'm queuing up.
So I am going to be able to disassemble and get like 30 plus 18650 cells, the little lithium ion.
They're like AA or AAA size, right?
They're bigger, a little bit bigger than that, but they're the same things that run every single tool in the world. The Tesla wall, all of that stuff runs. Your laptops run off this, and there are a million projects on the internet that you can do. You can also take apart your busted batteries, like. Chris, how many busted batteries you got for your?
I super glued
Makita?
the cases back together. They're much better now.
I mean, but do you have any that don't charge anymore or anything like that? Like old ones?
I recycled them.
You recycled them.
Maybe one, but like for the most part, even the small one.
From what I'm reading, 9 out of 10 the reasons that they don't charge anymore is because like one cell is bad. So if you take them apart and test the cells and solder in a new cell, bam, it works again. So what should Jeff do with his like 30-ish good 18650 cells? Mental?
So you mentioned on there all kinds of cool projects, and there are no endless amount of those projects, but I'm going to cast your mind back to the beginning of the show, Jeff. You went to the entire rigmarole with the boss's car because you're out of time. You're not a lazy human being. You are very passionate about your job. You are a very passionate father. You are a scout leader. You are a student community leader. You are part of a very active racing team. Jeff, you don't have enough time to do all the stuff that you're good at now. Recycle the damn things. Otherwise, you're going to take them apart and then get distracted and then move on to something else. And you've got a garage that you can't walk through right now.
Wow.
You can walk through it. You just got to step over
mental. You and I had the exact same sentence, and you said it better than I could. Thank you. Like,
I love you, Jeff. You're not
me,
dumb. You're just.
I was ready to say recycle them and fix your damn wife's car, and then maybe do something else we need. That's what I was going to say.
It's a good thing Mental had his hand up through the whole thing.
Yeah.
Wow. Chrissy, do you have a different thought?
So I thought this was hella sweet about Terrible to start with. So my first thought is hella sweet that you have
terrible.
Yeah, my hella sweet idea is do something stupid, but I've been told they're but terrible. So go ahead.
So my hella sweet is that you could get new ones for free, because that makes me very happy. I love warranty. I like something breaks and return it. That sounds great. So that's hella sweet. I now understand what kind of batteries we're looking at. I mean, other than making like a little tower or something, I think like that's probably fun for a second and then recycle them.
You're all no help.
What did you want us to say?
Then sure, lick them. I don't know. Do something.
Lick them!
Somewhere out there in our audience, there's an engine nerd right now going, no, don't recycle them, Jeff. I have the project. I'm building a Tesla wall.
And that engineer should get a hold of us on any of our social media at everyone.racers at Twitter, everyone.racers on Instagram. Get a hold of us at Facebook, email us, or even text us at 484-243-0455. And Jeff will send these to you.
I think that's the best idea ever.
He's going to send
because
them?
I get to live vicariously through whatever they build, and I don't have to build it.
Yep.
This is a great plan. So Egan, Hamza, whoever you are out there who has some sort of bizarre, it better have a Frankenstein switch. It better have like the 2-pole, like and it better move. That's all I'm saying.
And if it's Hamza, it better be potentially a sex toy, because that's what.
Well, I mean, every Hamza is potentially a sex toy. Is that the end of the show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for downloading us. We hope you enjoyed this week's edition of Everyone Racers. We also hope you'll join us in the world of driving, racing, and building, because everyone can be a racer, even you. If you enjoyed this podcast, subscribe. It's totally free. Then go to iTunes and give us a 5-star rating. Mental is drinking wine and shaking. No, okay.
Speaker closer to the microphone.
Oh, sorry. I can turn up the volume. Even if you hate us, give us 5 stars and tell us why. If you have any questions or show ideas, drop a comment on our Facebook page, everyone.racers, or email us at everyone.racers@gmail.com, or put it in the doodly-doo. Right, Chrissy? down there in the
I
doodly
was
do.
like, doodly do?
Or this is new. Text us. Did anybody text us this week? No, nobody texted us. Mental is waiting for your text. 484-243-0455. We're stealing this bit from Apex Adjacent Podcast. Find us on Instagram or Twitter at everyone.racers. Thanks again, and until next week, keep the slow lizardy side up. Unless you got one of those NASCARs, then just keep those wheels down.